She had survived storms at sea, commanded fleets, and made decisions that shaped the fate of nations. But nothing prepared Admiral Elena Cross for the moment she heard the man sitting across from her whisper loud enough for half the restaurant to hear. "Not my type. She's too fat." Silence fell. Faces turned. And just as her heart cracked in a way enemy fire never could, a janitor, a quiet single dad, put down his mop and walked toward her. That moment would rewrite both their lives. They say even the strongest hearts have one unseen fracture. Elena was about to discover hers in the most humiliating way possible. Admiral Elena Cross had built her entire life on discipline, perseverance, and grit. She rose before dawn, trained like a soldier half her age, and had the respect of every sailor under her command. She had led evacuation missions, peacekeeping fleets, and humanitarian rescues. The world saw her as unshakable, unbreakable, undefeatable. But what the world never saw was the emptiness she carried home every night. After 20 years of service, she was alone. Not lonely, but alone. And when a friend insisted she try a blind date, just to remind yourself you're still human, Elena reluctantly agreed. The moment she stepped into the warm candlelit restaurant, nerves fluttered beneath her uniformed composure. She wasn't wearing medals or stars, just a simple blue dress she hadn't worn since her academy graduation. She smoothed the fabric, exhaled slowly, and took the seat across from Mark, the man her friend had so enthusiastically described. At first glance, Mark smiled politely, but it wasn't the smile of interest. It was the smile of someone already disappointed. Still, Elena tried. She asked about his work, shared a small joke about Navy food, even laughed when he pretended to understand military slang. But every one of her efforts bounced off a cold wall. Then, when the waitress stepped away, Mark leaned back, sighed dramatically, and said, "Look, I'm going to be honest. I was expecting someone different. I don't date women who are." He didn't finish. He didn't need to. The whispered word, "too fat," carried across the room like a ricochet. Elena froze. Not because the insult hurt, though it did, but because for the first time in her life, she felt small. Invisible. Ridiculous. Like her decades of achievements evaporated under the heat of one man's shallow judgment. People in the restaurant stared. Some with pity. Some with amusement. And she felt her throat tighten, her vision blur, not with tears, but with the sting of humiliation she never thought she'd experience again after her toughest days at sea. She wanted to stand. She wanted to leave. She wanted to vanish. But her knees refused to move. And that was when she heard a quiet voice behind her. "Ma'am, are you all right?" She turned. It wasn't a waiter. Not a patron. Not a man in a suit. It was the janitor, sleeves rolled up, holding a mop, and wearing tired eyes that somehow saw straight through her armor. His name was Daniel Walsh. And he didn't look at her with pity. He looked at her like she deserved better than the world she was sitting in. Sometimes a stranger rescues you long before you ever realize you were drowning. Daniel Walsh was sweeping up near the corner when he heard Mark's comment. He recognized the Admiral immediately. Everyone in town knew the stories about the woman who risked her life to save sailors during a storm 3 years ago. But to Daniel, she wasn't an icon. She looked like someone fighting a battle no one else could see. He approached slowly, not wanting to draw attention, but the moment he spoke, Elena lifted her gaze, and for the first time that night, she wasn't holding her breath. "Ma'am," Daniel said softly, "if a man can't see your worth, that's his fault, not yours." Mark scoffed. "Stay out of it, janitor." Daniel didn't even look at him. He kept his eyes on Elena, offering a gentle steadiness she desperately needed. "My daughter looks up to you," he added. "She calls you the lady who saved the sailors. If she were here right now, she'd be proud. And she'd say don't let someone like him make you forget who you really are." Elena's breath trembled, just a little. Enough for Daniel to notice. And that was the moment she realized something profound. Strength wasn't just about not breaking. Sometimes it was about letting someone help pick up the pieces. When Mark stormed out, muttering insults, Daniel guided Elena to another table, one far from judging eyes, and sat across from her only when she nodded permission. They talked for nearly an hour. About life. About loneliness. About raising his daughter as a single dad after losing his wife. About how heroes didn't always wear uniforms. Daniel didn't treat her like an admiral. He treated her like a human being. And in doing so, he reminded her of a truth she had forgotten in the chaos of duty. She was worthy. She was enough. She deserved kindness. Before she left, Daniel hesitated, then asked, "Would you maybe like another cup of coffee? Another day? When I'm not wearing a uniform that smells like bleach?" Elena laughed, a real, unguarded laugh she hadn't felt in years. "Daniel," she said gently, "I'd like that very much." And as she walked out of the restaurant, head high, she didn't feel wounded anymore. She felt seen. Because the strongest hearts aren't those that never break, but those that find someone who knows how to hold them gently.